Part 9. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 82. Yashinayu's justice itself is hypocritical. Before he got the Book of Life and Death, did the other party do anything righteous? I only saw a conceited protagonist, very arrogant. After getting the Book of Life and Death, he seemed to be a completely different person. He claims to be righteous, but what he does is a criminal's deeds. Does this kind of person deserve to be called righteous? At 9 o'clock in the evening, in the Shanghai high-end apartment, Ye Wei frowned when he saw this sentence. Throughout the day today, ever since he posted what he said in his column, there has been a wave of online public opinion. However, his original intention was to talk about the school violence incident, so he used Yagamayu to talk about the so-called justice. As a result, within just a few hours after he published his remarks, the trend changed directly, and the school violence incident gradually faded out of the mainstream. Instead, many people began to talk about the justice of Yagamayu and L in Book of Life and Death. In his eyes, this is completely putting the cart before the horse, but the incident is fermenting, and it is no longer something that can be transferred manually. Most people have been involved. Netizens are expressing their own opinions. Except for a few people, many people have forgotten the center of the matter. Lao Ye, come here quickly. When Ye Wei was at a loss what to do, he heard the voice of his wife Yang Suekin. Here we come. After closing the web page, Ye Wei came out of sight, and then came to the bedroom. He saw his wife Yang Suekin lying on the bed, playing on the computer on the lazy table. He looked at the time and saw that it was only after 9 o'clock. What's wrong? It's not time to go to bed yet. Ye Wei is very helpless. His wife is more concerned about his health, so he is usually supervised to go to bed early. If he doesn't go to bed after 10 o'clock, he will be nagged. Of course, the real purpose is that he must send his son to school in the morning, but now it is the National Day holiday, so now he can sleep in or go to bed later. A Chinese teacher used the column you published this morning as the title of an essay. As the dean of a high school, Yang Suekin is very conscientious at school. So she formed a QQ group and invited many teachers she thought were excellent into the group. As time went by, the number of people in this group gradually changed from dozens to hundreds. Since everyone is a teacher, the students, it has become a topic of discussion among everyone. Sometimes when I encounter some weird compositions or difficult problems, I will take screenshots and ask questions in the group. What's the point? Ye Wei said helplessly. It's just a composition. You don't want anyone else to infringe it, do you? No, it's just that the teacher just sent over a test paper. It was a one-sentence essay and asked us what score our student's essay would get. Yang Suekin was still a little stunned at this time and pointed at the screen and said, "That's the sentence, I think you will be very interested." Hearing this, Ye Wei came over. This is a very white test paper. There is only one sentence in the entire composition page. Justice may be late, but it will never be absent. However, delayed justice is by no means real justice. Seeing this sentence, Ye Wei was stunned for a moment, and then stared at it, looking back and forth several times. Suddenly a flash of shame flashed in Ye Wei's eyes. Yes, shame. As the editor-in-chief of Youth Daily, Ye Wei calls himself a literati. As a traditional scholar, although Ye Wei is not pedantic, he considers himself to be upright, but now there is an indescribable depression in his heart, which makes him feel very uncomfortable. The rhythm of the entire public opinion platform today can be regarded as the beginning of it. Although I don't want to say it, there is a sense of vanity in my heart. This is also the reason why, even though he kept staring at Weibo throughout the whole day, he did not speak again. When a person's speech becomes a trigger and a center, it will inflate people, and when he wants to stop it, he doesn't know how to stop it. After all, there are no inspiring speeches in the national discussion now. It's hard to drink to stop the current situation. And Ye Wei knew that he was inflated, so after seeing this sentence, he would have a very heavy feeling of guilt. Taking a deep breath and letting go of the frustration in his heart, Yewei said in a deep voice, "It's unreasonable not to give full marks for this essay. Even if it's the college entrance examination, it must be full marks." At this moment, Yewei knew that he had to do something. He started the whole thing and he must also end it. If there was no way before and he didn't want to think of a way, now he knows what he should do. "Did you take the wrong medicine?" Yang Swekin glanced at Yewei in surprise, wondering why the other party's tone was so heavy. Yewei shook his head and said nothing more, but asked, "What is the student's name?" "Let me ask." "After talking for a while, I learned that this essay was written by a girl named Susienur, a senior student at UXZ High School, who has always ranked first in her grade and is a true academic master. It turns out it's her." Yang Swekin wasn't very surprised at this time. Seeing Yewei's confusion, she said, "UXZ High School is a key middle school in the Magic City. You also know that our teachers also have their own circle. This girl can be regarded as Yewei. He is a signature of the 11th high school. 2 years ago, when the opponent was a freshman in high school, he participated in the High School Mathematical Olympiad League and won second place in the country at that time. However, for some reason, he chose liberal arts as a sophomore in high school, plus 2 years. And gradually faded out of view." "That's it." Yewei nodded. "It seems that the other party has chosen the liberal arts correctly. He might not be able to say such a thing if he chooses science." Then, without waiting for Yang Swekin to look down upon him, he said, "I'll go over first." Something happened. When Yewei came to the study room, she felt depressed in her heart and felt unhappiness. However, he did not write immediately. Instead, he opened Weibo and carefully read the words of the experts and professors again. Then he took a deep breath and murmured, "This matter is out of my mouth, so it will naturally end with my pen." As he said, he picked up the pen on the table and wrote down the words in his mind. His pen moved like a dragon and snake, and his power penetrated the back of the paper. On October 5th, the holidays of major companies are still continuing. Because Zhao Jing had been thinking about things last night, he went to bed at 2 or 3 in the middle of the night. Now it is 10 o'clock and he has not woken up yet. It was Luoyang's phone call that woke him up. As soon as he answered the phone and before he opened his mouth, he heard Luoyang's excited voice saying, "Check Weibo. Check the official Weibo of the Youth Daily. Things have taken a turn for the better." "What's the matter?" Zhao Jing was still a little confused. "The matter of the Book of Life and Death." After hearing this, Zhao Jing shuddered and woke up. He immediately got up and ran to the study to turn on the computer and directly checked the latest Weibo of the Youth Daily. He was shocked at a glance. Justice may be late, but it will never be absent. However, justice that is late is not real justice. Susienur. When we were still discussing the justice of light Yagami NL, and arguing over it, a senior high school student from a certain middle school wrote this sentence in his composition. When I first saw the sentence, I felt ashamed. When I read it again, I felt depressed. I started the incident at this time, but I didn't stop it in time, which made the incident escalate and the topic gradually deviated. I regretted it very much, but the fermentation of the matter could not be stopped by a word. Until I saw the sentence, I suddenly realized that, as Su said, justice was late. This justice has lost its purity and is definitely not true justice. While we are arguing with words, school violence is still happening frequently, so we can't let the delayed justice continue to be delayed. School violence is a matter for all the people in the country. It is a group incident, not an individual incident. In this regard, I apologize for what I said yesterday, but I hope that the debate on justice will end here. What we should do is to stop school violence, not put the cart before the horse. The debate on words and deeds is indeed a kind of communication among literati since ancient times, but, now is not the time. Susienur, Zhao Jing couldn't help but shout, Isn't this a wonderful pen? Recommend, recommendation vote. OVO. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 83. Chapter 83. I have a very serious cold. What is going on? After Zhao Jing screamed, he was shocked and couldn't help but ask. It's like this. Lu Yang heard on the phone and explained directly. In the morning, the Youth Daily's official blog reinterpreted and posted what Ye Wei said in today's Youth Daily column. This time, Ye Wei's remarks shocked everyone who had been discussing justice all day yesterday. If it were just what Ye Wei said, it might not be ignored at all. After all, the public opinion is boiling, and it can no longer be changed by a few words from one person, even if he started it. After a whole day of fermentation yesterday, this matter is completely out of everyone's control. However, the words of Susienner's essay silenced everyone. In just 2 hours, it was forwarded by countless people. Early in the morning, Weibo, forums, and post bars were all filled with this sentence. One sentence shocked everyone awake. What's more, when they saw the screenshot of the test paper posted by Ye Wei, and then looked at the remarks they made about justice, they immediately deleted it from Weibo, because they felt a sense of shame in response to the sentence. In fact, many people felt that yesterday the speech had moved away from the original school violence incident, but people's words were so light that they could not stop it at all. Today, for the first time, except for a few experts and professors who want to gain popularity, many people have lost their voices, as if they have lost their voices. As for those who were trying to catch the heat, they found that even if they made comments, no one would argue with them. In an instant, they looked like clowns, which was extremely embarrassing. I was really shocked by what this classmate Su said. I had a lot of feelings early in the morning. I felt uncomfortable and unhappy, but I didn't know how to speak. I can only thank Editor-in-Chief Ye Wei for what he said today, letting me know that I was going astray. As what student Su said, our justice has been late, so we cannot continue to be late. As a junior high school teacher at Jinjiang Middle School, starting from today, I will strictly urge the students to take some actions and strive to make every student will not be bullied by bad people or social people. A simple sentence contains a profound philosophy of life. I have to agree with the words of the student named Susienner. She lives in a remote community, next to an elementary school. High school students often extort money here. In the past, they would avoid it if they saw it. He drove by and said it was none of my business. This sentence touched me quite a lot today. I won't say much, but it will all depend on my performance from now on. I don't know what's going on, but I feel very ashamed inside. I obviously didn't do anything, but this feeling lingers. Student Su's words speak directly to the heart. It's hard to imagine that this is a one-sentence essay written by a high school student, but if you think about it for a moment, perhaps only students who have not yet entered society can maintain such an innocent heart. Not long after Weibo became deserted, comments were like a torrent, directly filling the official blog of the Youth Daily. One by one expressed their opinions on Susienner's words. The most popular comment was that the words were too powerful and made everyone who saw it feels very complicated. There is no longer any frail justice in speech, let alone the so-called Book of Life and Death. Because everyone feels that when they talk about justice, this sentence seems to mock their ignorance and shallowness. Is it that simple? When Zhao Jing learned about this, he couldn't help but said, just because of one sentence. It's that simple. Lu Yang nodded, feeling relieved and excited, so I'm calling you to tell you that it's time to let the Navy guide the speech. In order to prevent the topic from turning to Book of Life and Death again, they naturally had to do something. Okay, after tossing and turning all night, he was relieved by one sentence as soon as he got up. Zhao Jing always felt a little fantasy when he lamented about being lucky, and felt like he was dreaming. Then he asked the question in his heart, this Susienner, it must be a wonderful stroke, right? There were many people with the same name in the world, but this was such a coincidence that he couldn't help but be surprised. It should be, right, Luoyang also hesitated, but was not sure. No wonder Zhao Jing and Luoyang were so surprised. Although they had never met Susian'er, they had experienced how unreliable this girl was. Just one page update made them a little bit dumbfounded. How could such a careless character say such wise words? Unbelievable indeed. And just when Zhao Jing and Luoyang started to notify other editors and President Fan, and hired trolls to start guiding the speech, two people appeared at the door of UXZ Middle School, a beautiful heroine holding a microphone, and a young man with a miniature undercover camera. The two people came in a hurry. After being stopped by the security, they took out their press credentials. The security then contacted the school and let them go. Sister Li, is that Susian'er really in this school? The young man couldn't help but ask. This Sister Li was busy making phone calls early in the morning. She asked her to be interviewed half an hour ago. Now there is a lot of talk about Susian'er on Weibo. As one of the media employees, the young man was naturally very well informed. The other party's words directly put an end to yesterday's earth-shaking argument and scolding. At that time, he felt that the literati's pen was really powerful. Hearing this, Sister Li said excitedly, "Don't worry, you don't know my news yet? I'm the most informed. We must get this first-hand information. Who dares to look down on us on TV?" Sister Li knew that Susian'er was stirring up trouble on Weibo, and many media wanted to interview her, but apart from her name, no information was revealed. It was her cousin who was a teacher who told her the news, otherwise she would be confused. Ding-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling. A harsh school bell rang, which startled the two of them. Then Sister Li said anxiously, "Hurry, school is over. Now is a good opportunity." As a key high school, UXZ High School is a semi-enclosed boarding school. Some students go to school on foot, but most of them live on campus. Therefore, the school is very large, and with rich greenery, the two wandered around for a few minutes before they found out where the teaching building was. Just as the two were walking towards the teaching building, Sister Li's eyes suddenly lit up and she stepped forward. "Hello, two little sisters, can I ask you a question?" "What is it?" Susian'er looked at Sister Li suspiciously, always feeling that the two were a little suspicious, and Lin Jingshu smiled and said, "Sister, you ask. Ahem, before asking questions, can we take a photo together?" Sister Li couldn't help but say something. Susian'er was really too cute, making her want to rub her face, but the young man behind her slapped his forehead and said helplessly, "Sister Li, business is business." Susian'er said disdainfully, "If you have any questions, ask them quickly. I have to go home for dinner. It's like this. Is there a senior student named Susian'er in UXZ Middle School?" When Sister Li asked this question, Susian'er and Lin Jingshu were stunned for a moment. Then, without waiting for Lin Jingshu to speak, Susian'er pointed to the back and said, "Senior Su is in class 1, senior 3. She is the top student in the grade, so she studies in the library or classroom after school." When Lin Jingshu heard this, she was stunned again, and then she resisted the urge to complain and did not speak. Then the four of them said goodbye. Susian'er and the others saw Sister Li and the others rushing towards the teaching building. When they saw them walking away, they suddenly said, "I want to take a leave in the afternoon." "What's wrong?" Lin Jingshu couldn't keep up with Susian'er's pace. She hadn't figured out the previous situation yet. "I have a very serious cold." Lin Jingshu looked at Susian'er speechlessly and didn't want to pay attention to her. "I must start saving manuscripts, otherwise it will be very anxious if I update late every day. // Please vote for recommendation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 84. In the morning, Susienner was bored in class and played with her mobile phone. She usually didn't visit Weibo, but when she thought that Joe Kinja had taken yesterday's composition from Weibo, she took a curious look at it. As a result, she discovered that her composition yesterday had been stolen by the picture-stealing dog named Yewei at some point. It was also posted on Weibo and her name was tagged on it, which was a sign of a famous quote. Then she spent the whole morning reading Weibo, paying attention to the development of the situation, and stopped playing mobile games. When she was out of school, she met that person who was mentally retarded and could tell that he was a reporter. Naturally, she couldn't reveal his identity, so she wanted to avoid the limelight for the next few days, so she took advantage of this time to be lazy at home. Seeing that Susienner was going back to her room after lunch, Lin Jingshu couldn't help but said, "Are you really not going to school?" "Of course not," Susienner said lazily. "Think about it, that reporter must be here to interview me. If I become famous and become a celebrity in the future, you won't be able to see me. I will become a star by then. After I left, I probably won't go to college. I'll have less and less contact from now on, and we'll become strangers." As Susienner said, Lin Jingshu thought for a while, her eyes suddenly became firm, and she clenched her fists. "Don't worry, I will definitely ask for leave for you." "Huh?" "Susienner has gone home." When Susienner came home, Sister Li found Susienner's class teacher Joe Kinja. When she learned that the other party had gone home, she couldn't help but said anxiously, "That weak teacher, can you tell us where Su lives? We would like to interview her." Joe Kinja frowned and said with a look of embarrassment, "I'm sorry, I can't reveal students' privacy." In fact, Joe Kinja feels a little guilty now because she took a screenshot of the other party's composition and uploaded it to the QQ group. As a result, the editor-in-chief Yewei found out that although the impact was good, she obviously did not obtain Susienner's consent. For her who has extremely upright views, there were several times in the morning when she wanted to go out to Susienner and apologize to her. But she thought that as a teacher, she had to maintain her dignity. In addition, Susienner had become more and more difficult to control recently. She saw him doing small tricks from the window several times, but his grades never dropped, so she didn't explain. So she planned to apologize to the other party when she graduated from high school. The reporter in front of him, who claimed to be Dragon TV, wanted to interview Susienner, but she would definitely not say much now. Thinking about this, she said, "If you want to interview, just wait until class in the afternoon. It's time to see if Susienner is willing to accept the interview." Okay, Sister Li knew that the class teacher in front of her obviously didn't intend to be exposed, but after thinking about it for a moment, it was right. Yuexi High School was a key high school and was extremely famous in itself, so it didn't need any publicity. In addition, the time for the senior year of high school is getting tighter and tighter. If the media interviews Susienner, causing other media to follow suit and making the senior high school students unable to calm down and study, the admission rate will definitely drop. Discredited. At around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Sister Li was waiting eagerly, but she got the news that Susienner had a cold and was resting at home, so she had to take a few days off. Sister Li and the young man couldn't help but vomit blood. Although Joe Kinja vaguely knew that Susienner was lying again, she didn't expose it and sent the two reporters away. However, Sister Li and the young man looked at Lin Jingshu, who was asking for leave for Susienner, and couldn't help but be stunned. As soon as their heads turned, Sister Li thought of the petite but extremely cute girl they had met before. "It turns out it's her," Sister Li looked excited. After the two of them left the school gate, they had lunch first and then waited outside. When school was over in the afternoon, they watched Lin Jingshu leave the school gate, and the two of them followed her secretly. "Sister Li, "What's the difference between us and the paparazzi?" the young man couldn't help but whisper as the two followed Lin Jingshu. "You know what the heck, this is for big news," Sister Lee snorted. "Stop talking nonsense. As long as we interview Susiener and with the hot discussion on Weibo today, our status on the TV station will definitely rise." Cut. The two of them followed Lin Jingshu all the way. When the other party entered the community, they wanted to follow, but they were stopped by the security guard. "Sorry, please show your access card." The two of them were dumbfounded. Sister Lee smiled and said, "Brother security, we are reporters, going in to interview people." After saying that, she took out her press card. The security guard took a look at it suspiciously, but his expression softened. Just now he saw these two guys following Lin Jingshu secretly. He thought they were gangsters, but he didn't expect them to be reporters from Dragon TV. He returned his press card to the other party and said calmly, "Since you are a reporter, please have the phone number of the owner to interview. I will confirm it and you can go in." At this time, Sister Lee and the two of them were completely confused. They didn't expect that the security guard in front of them was so stubborn. "Security brother, can you open the door for me?" Just as Sister Lee was racking her brains to find a way, she heard a familiar voice. She turned around and said in surprise, "Xiaoying." "Sister Lee? Why are you here?" Suying gave the house number of Lin Jingshu's house to the security guard for confirmation. When she saw Sister Lee, she couldn't help but said in surprise, "I'm here to interview someone, but I can't get in." Pointing to the clueless security guard, Sister Lee smiled bitterly and said, "Can you ask me to do it?" Seeing this, Suying hesitated for a while, then looked at the security guard. "You can only take her. The man stays as a high-end apartment. Yunshan Mansion has very strict security." However, since Suying knew the other party and had obtained Lin Jingshu's consent, the security guard agreed. However, for the sake of caution, the young man was obviously turned away. "Xiao Qin, you stay and wait for me." Seeing this, Sister Lee breathed a sigh of relief and left the young man with a miserable face. "Xiao Ying, don't you have to shoot a movie? How do you have time to come here?" Sister Lee asked Suying curiously. "Today's scenes are finished, and today I came to see my benefactor," Suying said embarrassedly, "but she has no plans to become famous, so I won't tell you." Since the misunderstanding of Sakura wants to see you, Shuijing Jushi's Weibo has gradually become quiet because she has no plans to release songs, and Lin Jingshu is studying hard, so she neglects to manage it. However, Suying's Weibo has become much more popular because of that misunderstanding. In addition, she has high exposure, interacts with fans, and her acting skills in the music MV have been recognized, which has gradually made her popular. However, in Suying's heart, all this was the credit of teacher Shuabai, so she naturally had to come and get to know him. Most importantly, as a music fanatic like Lin Jingshu, she has become a fan of Shuabai and really wants to meet him. Today, she mustered up the courage to chat with Lin Jingshu online, hoping to visit him. Lin Jingshu did not refuse, which made her extremely excited. Hearing this, Sister Lee smiled with understanding, and said, "Then let's separate here. I have to interview others too." "Okay." After Suying and Sister Lee said goodbye in the community, they came to the place Lin Jingshu gave her. When the two met, Lin Jingshu helplessly held a note and said, "Student Su went out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you don't mind, you can wait." "No problem." Suying blinked her eyes and naturally had no objection. "And what is Susiener doing at this time?" "She is guiding the voice actors of life and dubbing at Tencent Animation Company. A new day, please recommend." OVO. Thanks to George Miao for becoming the helmsman. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 85. At 3 p.m., Susiener, who had just woken up from a nap, started surfing the internet. Then she opened QQ and first looked at the message from the reviewer Li Yuan. Ever since she forgot to draw the Book of Life and Death because of the B station last time, she has had this habit, for fear of forgetting something important. So, it won't make her pregnant to look at other people's messages. As a result, Susienner's eyes widened and she was completely stunned. Mr. Miyobi, due to online public opinion and special reasons, I'm afraid that your Book of Life and Death will be disqualified from the new comics competition. If you see this message, please call the editorial department back and notify you of something important. My 1 million. Seeing this message, Susienner wailed and stood up instantly, then read it carefully again, her pretty face darkened, and without saying anything, she called Zhao Jing directly, but the call didn't go through, which made her dumbfounded. You know, if this 1 million is missing, then her aunt's money and the bank's money will have to be delayed for a while, and most importantly, she still owes Chen Rui 3.6 million. Even though she made a lot of money from the books she drew, she would have to spend it all next month. If she lost the 1 million now, she would have to delay it again. Most importantly, she hated people who owed money the most, because when she owed money to others, she always felt uncomfortable. She would think about it every day, which made her feel annoyed when playing games and guilty when spending money. Gritting her teeth, Susienner called Chen Shui, "Come to my house and accompany me to the Tencent Animation headquarters." If Book of Life and Death was banned, she would definitely not go, after all, it was banned in her previous life. But Li Yuan did not say it was banned, and this was only the second episode. How could it be harmonized so quickly? So something must have happened that she didn't know about. What's wrong? When Chen Shui rushed to Susienner's bedroom from school, she asked anxiously. Then, seeing that she was playing games, she couldn't help but say, "Where is the urgent matter?" Recently, Susienner had nothing to do, so Chen Shui was also free, which made Lu Ruyan very envious. She said that she didn't have to work and had 8,000 yuan every month, which made her want to be Susienner's assistant. But Chen Shui knew that the other party was joking, so she ignored it. "Wait, 10 minutes, wait until I finish this activity." Susienner was concentrating on the computer screen, and Chen Shui was too lazy to complain. 10 minutes later, Susienner threw the mouse. "Let's go." "You're leaving like this?" Pointing to Susienner's fluffy hair, Chen Shui said exhaustedly, "I wanted to say it last time, if you want to go out, dress up for me." Last time in Chen Rui's office, although Chen Shui didn't say it, she still wanted to complain. Touching her smooth hair, Susienner nodded, "It's time to cut it, it's a bit long. And in summer, if you go out with long hair, you'll be so hot. Let's go to the barber shop before going to Tencent Comics." "Don't," Chen Shui hurriedly stopped her. "What a joke, long hair with Susienner's porcelain doll face, don't mention how cute it is." After much persuasion, Susienner finally gave up the idea. She was too lazy to let her dress up to go out. Miao Bai is coming to the company. Tencent Comics, the relatively quiet editorial department, was completely boiling with Li Yuan's scream. "Miyobi is coming to our editorial department." "No way." "Really?" "Are we going to meet Her Royal Highness the Princess?" As many review editors in the inner district, the idol they admire most now is Susienner, who created the style of comic books. Now most comic book cartoonists have begun to imitate her. According to some editors, some comic book cartoonists have successfully imitated her and are preparing to start creating. This has saved them, the review editors. In the past, they were considering whether to resign when facing those muscle-style cartoons. Now most of them have no such thoughts and are looking forward to the new books of those well-known comic book cartoonists. "Of course it's true," Li Yuan said excitedly, "I'll go and notify them." In less than 5 minutes, this news swept the entire Tencent Animation. Now Susienner, as the most important star cartoonist of Tencent Animation, is extremely popular. I'm afraid Susiana herself doesn't know that 99% of the people in Tencent Animation are her fans, and the remaining 1% are those cleaning ladies and doormen who don't pay attention to the internet. As a leading company in the animation industry, if anyone says that they don't know Miyobi, then I'm sorry, resign, I'm afraid you are no longer suitable for this industry. When Zhao Jing came out of the Magic City Animation Culture Administration, he turned on his mobile phone and learned the news from Luoyang. It just so happens that I also have news to tell the other party, Zhao Jing said expectantly. Now I can finally see the true face of teacher Miyobi. Although Susiana's photo has been seen on the ID card, it is the ID card. Although the live broadcast room has a glimpse, I'm afraid no one has seen it clearly. In addition, no one has taken a screenshot. Susiana's fans have been regretting why they didn't record the video in the past. Although they recorded it later, Susiana no longer showed her face. When Susiana and Chen Shui came to Tencent Animation Company, as soon as they stepped into the company's door, they felt countless eyes gathered around them, like a laser sweep. Miyobi teacher. Yes, it must be. Oh my god, so cute. Finally met Her Highness the Princess. The editors, who said they were going to the toilet but actually ran downstairs because of the time difference, couldn't help but feel convinced when they saw Susiana. Of course, although it was confirmed, they were in the company at this time, so they did not come forward. On the contrary, as soon as the front desk saw Susiana and Chen Shui entering the door, they stepped forward and asked with a smile, which of the two is teacher Miyobi? Even though he said that, the receptionist's eyes were always on Susiana, who was in line with the age of 17 high school students, although she was shorter. Susiana was a little confused at this time. The editor-in-chief said that if teacher Miyobi comes, go directly to the editor-in-chief's office. Chen Shui looked at the enthusiastic people around her with some fear. Now when she heard this, she directly asked the front desk to lead the way. An editor who was watching suddenly reacted, picked up his mobile phone and took a photo of Susiana's back, and then sent it directly to the Teacher Miyobi Guardian Association and the Knights of Princess Miyobi saying, Teacher Miyobi's back photo get. At this time, Susiana had already arrived at the editor-in-chief's office and met Zhao Jing and Luoyang. Wonderful, teacher, welcome. Looking at the tiny Susiana, it took Zhao Jing and Luoyang a long time to react, and both of them spoke in a rather awkward manner. As a result, Susiana glared directly, my 1 million is here. Please vote for recommendation. Thanks to Heltuza for being the helmsman of this book, transformed into a comic book artist author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 86. Zhao Jing and Luoyang couldn't help but laugh when they saw Susiana asking for 1 million right away. In fact, before Susiana arrived, they had already guessed why she wanted to come to Tencent Comics. After thinking about it, according to their understanding, this was the only reason. After all, Zhao Jing knew that Susiana was in urgent need of money. Sure enough, as soon as they met, she didn't even say hello and asked for 1 million directly. However, the two were very tolerant of Susiana. Now Susiana is the treasure of Tencent Comics. If anyone dares to blacken her online, they don't need Susiana to react. They will deal with it directly. In addition, Susiana's age is no different from their sons and daughters. Although she is 2 or 3 years older, in their eyes, Susiana is the same as their daughter. They may be very strict with their children. But for outstanding juniors, Zhao Jing and Luoyang are very tolerant. What's more, except that Susiana sometimes forgets things, she is simply perfect in their eyes. So, Zhao Jing smiled and explained to Susiana that a lot of things had happened in the past 2 days. That's what happened. So Book of Life and Death will cancel the qualification for the newcomer competition. Zhao Jing smiled, but don't worry, Mr. Miyobi, the first place of 1 million, we Tencent Animation will give you our own funds. Of course, if you can draw another suspense and mystery comics and continue to participate, we are also welcome. Hearing this, Susiana breathed a sigh of relief. So that's the case, but let her continue to draw one, forget it. As a late-stage lazy cancer, she can be lazy, and in her cognition, there are many powerful suspense and mystery comics, but the most impressive ones, except for Kinda Ichi and Conan, are only Book of Life and Death. As for Conan? Sorry, maybe she will never draw it in this life. The reason? Too long. Not only Conan, Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball, these civilian comics and even some long stories she will not touch, unless one day she has hundreds or thousands of comic assistants to work for her. Otherwise, Susiana would not have any idea about these migrant worker comics. Seeing Susiana's direct refusal, Zhao Jing did not persuade him anymore. In his opinion, it would be difficult to surpass the current Book of Life and Death with another suspense and mystery, and the plot of suspense and mystery is difficult to plan and very brain-burning. If he draws another one, there is a high probability that both books will collapse. After all, although the brain is a good thing, there is only one. So even if Susiana really plans to open 2 jobs now, Zhao Jing will stop him. Thinking of this, he said, because of the reasons for the past 2 days, Book of Life and Death has caused our editorial department to be in a high-risk state. Today, we are officially relieved. This is all thanks to your words, Teacher Miyobi. I didn't expect that this crisis was still solved by you. Although he couldn't believe it, Zhao Jing also knew that even if there were many people with the same name and surname in the world, it was not so coincidental. In addition, the other party was a high school student at Uexi High School, a key high school in Modu, and all the conditions were met. Is there a reward? Susiana asked. Luoyang laughed dumbly and said, no reward. Besides, the Book of Life and Death is now well known throughout the country. Miyobi's pen name is more famous than the national player Lu Lao. It's very easy for you to make money now, Mr. Miyobi. For example, sell the animation copyright to our Tencent Animation. In the novel world, there is a saying that one book can make you a god. Although there is no such saying in the comics world, it just didn't appear, and this the Book of Life and Death directly made Susiana a god. Everything happened so suddenly, and it was reasonable. In the past, in addition to the older generation of cartoonists who could let some people who didn't read comics know, now there is one more. Even people who don't read comics now know that there is a person named Miyobi who drew a Book of Life and Death that became popular all over the country. This is the popularity, so Zhao Jing and Luoyang know that the Book of Life and Death is a big IP at this time. As long as it is well operated, animation, TV series, and movies are not a problem. The most important thing is that this Book of Life and Death is the most important part of expanding the ACT circle, and it cannot be lost. As for the administration's intention to weaken the influence of the Book of Life and Death, this is secondary. After all, the issues that Book of Life and Death had previously involved on Weibo were too sensitive. As long as this wave of craze passes, with a little publicity at that time, coupled with the subsequent plot development of Book of Life and Death, it will definitely continue to be popular all over the country. I would like to give it to Tencent Animation, but I have already agreed to give the animation copyright of Book of Life and Death to Bilibili for operation. Puff. Zhao Jing sprayed a mouthful of tea directly on the ground, while Luoyang was stunned. What? The two who reacted couldn't help but screamed. Zhao Jing completely lost his composure at this moment and said anxiously, Teacher Miyobi, think twice. Tencent Animation is the leading domestic ACK enterprise, and with the parent company as a backer, it is definitely more reliable to hand it over to us than Bilibili, and we are just joking when we say we will buy it. With such a huge IP as Book of Life and Death, we will only let you, Teacher Miyobi, share it, and we will not buy it out. Zhao Jing and Luoyang never expected that the copyright of Book of Life and Death was intercepted by someone. At this moment, Zhao Jing's heart was cold. He knows that Bilibili is closely related to ACK. Bilibili is the center of ACK, but it is just a video website, and its influence is really small. Now few people in the country know Bilibili, but people who know Tencent Video are all over the country. Of course, whether to use Tencent Video or not depends on the individual. So it was really hard for him to understand why Susiener would hand over the copyright of Book of Life and Death to Bilibili for operation. Isn't this nonsense? In addition, the interests of the comic book Book of Life and Death were too involved, making him unable to calm down. Because I own 23% of Bilibili's shares. Hearing this, Zhao Jing was suddenly speechless. 23%, that is already a major shareholder, so it is reasonable for Susiener to leave it to her own company to run it. For a moment, Zhao Jing had a headache and asked a very stupid question, then can the premier rights of Book of Life and Death be given to us? Luoyang rolled his eyes aside. Station B is a video website. How could it give the first broadcast rights to Tencent Video? I'm afraid I will hold it tightly in my hands, and I won't let go of the exclusive copyright for a lifetime. Because Book of Life and Death is of great significance to the ACK circle, if it is made into a series, Book of Life and Death will be the first series to create a style of painting, which is of great significance. Zhao Jing, who had reacted, also knew that he was suddenly stupid, so he forced a smile and said, although I mean the first broadcast rights, Mr. Miyobi, you just need to agree to let the two companies broadcast it at the same time. This, I have to ask the person in charge of Station B. Susiener suddenly felt a little embarrassed at this time. She felt that she relied on the Tencent animation platform to make money, but in the end the copyright was not sold to the other party, which was a bit unjustifiable. Moreover, Zhao Jing, the editor-in-chief, was quite nice to her, which made her feel a little guilty. If this kind of mentality were known to Chen Shui next to him, he would definitely roll his eyes. This is a shopping mall, there is no emotion at all. And she feels that these comics drawn by Susiener are popular no matter which website platform they are on. It is Tencent Animation's blessing to be published on Tencent Animation. Those comics websites nowadays, especially those with evil spirits, don't know how jealous they are of Tencent Animation. I am racking my brains to find a wonderful pen. Then, Zhao Jing was about to speak when there was a knock on the door. Please come in. Editor-in-Chief, this is a sample of the first episode of Susien series. Before he could finish speaking, the staff saw Susiener and Chen Shui in the room, and was speechless and embarrassed. It's a new week, please recommend and vote for OVO. Thanks to the Loki Reading Wolf for being the helmsman of this book. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck, please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 87. Editor-in-Chief, this is a sample of the first chapter of Susien series, please. I wanted to say, please take a look, but after a long pause, I saw two girls, Susiener and Chen Shui, and the staff was embarrassed and speechless. After all, things like Lifen are generally viewed by men. Lifen, however, Susiener's eyes lit up when she heard this. Give it to me, I want to see it. Searched Can on Google. It had been a month since she traveled back in time. Except for the serious psychological shadow left by the glimpse of Lifen when she first came here, Susiener had never seen the book or Lifen again. As for the notebook she drew it one stroke at a time. As the owner of the Susien series, she didn't feel anything. But Lifen is different. This is a moving book, and it also has dubbing. Thinking about this, Susiener became excited. When Chen Shui next to her heard Susiener's words, her face turned as black as coal. You must know that she was the protagonist of the first episode in the book. When she thought of this, she felt as awkward as eating a fly. Zhao Jing and Luoyang were stunned when they heard this, with strange expressions on their faces. Although they knew that Susiener was a painter, both of them would automatically ignore this matter. Now that the other party asked to read it, they could not refuse because the other party was the author. Just when Zhao Jing was about to speak, the cell phone in his pocket rang. Ahem. Zhao Jing coughed lightly. Since you want to see it, Mr. Miyobi, then go ahead and see it. The computer is here, you can use it as you like, I'll go out and take a call. After saying that, he took the CD from the staff, handed it to Susiener, and then went out directly. When Luoyang saw it, he was dumbfounded, and then he twitched the corner of his mouth and said, I thought of something else. Look, I'm leaving first. I also. What do you want? Watch it with me. Seeing Chen Shui's disgusted face, Susiener knew what the other party was thinking, and said seriously, I told you that Chen Shui in the book is not you, so don't be too impatient. Burden. I believed you're evil, Chen Shui said angrily, but she didn't leave either. After knowing Susiener for a long time, her own upper limit of shame seemed to have increased a lot. Now that I think about it, it's a character in the second dimension anyway, and it's not a realistic painting style, and it looks different from her, so there's really no need to be pretentious. With excitement, Susiener inserted the CD, then opened the video and clicked on it without saying anything. Oh! When the screen unfolded and the Tencent animation logo passed, Susiener almost burst into tears when she looked at the appearance of the protagonist Susien shown at the beginning. It's this Kisaragi Kunzen style of painting. I didn't expect it to be made, she hadn't seen it for a month, and Chen Shui next to her also had a look of surprise. She had also watched the drama, but she only watching the Q version of the drama, because the drawing style of other dramas is all about muscles, there is no desire to watch it. However, when the protagonist Susien appeared, she fell in love with this style of painting at first sight. However, as soon as the protagonist Susien opened her mouth, Susiener's beautiful eyebrows wrinkled. The dubbing seems to be very bad. However, Susiener read it patiently. After all, it was just the beginning. The most important thing was the female dubbing. She could still tolerate the slight flaws of the male. While Susiener and Chen Shui were appreciating Lifen, Zhao Jing came out and answered the phone directly, Mr. Fan. How's it going? The people from the administration promised us that as long as the school violence incident on Weibo is over, they will help us promote Book of Life and Death, Zhao Jing said with a smile. You must know that although the administration is not as powerful as other departments due to the development of the ACT circle, but this is a national department. If they want to promote an animation, it will definitely be faster and more sensational than their company. That's fine, but it's also reasonable. The country still strongly promotes ACT. As long as it doesn't violate some regulations, Book of Life and Death is jointly promoted by the administration and Tencent Animation, and it will definitely become popular. Mr. Fan finally felt at this moment. He was completely relieved. Zhao Jing was not only busy these 2 days, he was also worried. Now that the dust has settled, I feel much more comfortable, and when I think about the impact that Book of Life and Death can bring, I feel excited. However, Zhao Jing smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Fan, I have some bad news to share with you. The copyright of Book of Life and Death has been blocked. Huh? What? After Mr. Fan reacted, he let out a scream. Then he forced himself to calm down and said in a deep voice, I need a reasonable explanation. Zhao Jing said briefly. Station B, Mr. Fan felt a little weird when he heard this. Is it that Bilibili? Right. Okay, let me let you know. Station B seems to be seeking external financing recently, and the headquarters has plans to invest in it. Of course, despite saying this, Mr. Fan is still a little unhappy. Even if Bilibili raises funds and the headquarters takes a stake, Bilibili is not its own company after all. The benefits of Book of Life and Death will still be shared, which is really not a pleasant thing. On the contrary, Zhao Jing breathed a sigh of relief, but he was curious. Although Station B is called the center of ACK, it seems that there is no need to raise funds, right? Financing is generally the act and process of raising funds for an enterprise, which means that it will only raise funds when it is short of money. However, for a small company like Bilibili, it is completely self-sufficient, so why should it need external financing? It seems that Bilibili started developing a technology a long time ago. It was not disclosed before. Recently, we got some news about 3D virtual technology. Mr. Fan thought for a while and said, this technology is different from what is on the market. 3D virtual projection is different. Its functions are more complete, but it is more expensive. As for why Bilibili has recently started research and development, the headquarters guesses that this is related to the style of painting recently created by Miobi. The news Tencent received is that this technology has been developed since the establishment of Bilibili. However, there was a severe lack of funds in the past and insufficient website development, so it has been shelved. But recently, due to the emergence of wonderful pens, the style of painting in the comic industry has been recreated in a crushing way. In addition, Bilibili has grown to a certain scale and achieved a certain level of profit, so it started to pick it up and continue research and development. However, technology is the most expensive, but Bilibili does not want to continue to shelve it, so it intentionally or unintentionally introduces it to the market. Revealed the news of financing. Of course, if you want to raise funds, you must show your highlights, otherwise no one will take notice, so this news was revealed. So, although I don't know what Bilibili is going to do to develop this technology, but the other party is an ACK website, which means that all the centers of the other party are mainly ACK, which is important to the headquarters, and even if we raise funds, we will not lose money, because of the wonderful writing. The ACK circle may show a variety of styles in the next 2-3 years, and then it will enter a period of rapid development in the ACK industry, and Station B itself will become popular for this reason. I see. 2 or 3 years were enough for those cartoonists to master it and even create their own style of painting. That was the period of ACK's explosive development. Thinking of this, Zhao Jing breathed a sigh of relief. Asshole. I want to meet the voice actor. Just after the two chatted for a while and hung up the phone, Zhao Jing heard Susiener's angry voice. Please vote for recommendation / transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 88. After watching the first episode of the Suxian series, Susiener finally couldn't help it. She went out and saw Zhao Jing coming in. She shouted angrily, I want to see the voice actor. What the hell, this kind of robot-like howling, is it really watching a live show? And sometimes the lip movements are not right. What kind of voice actor did Tencent Animation find? If that voice actor was in front of her, she would definitely scold him. What's wrong? Zhao Jing just finished a phone call and was confused. The live show screen passed, but the quality is too bad. Susiener snorted, you are still a leading company. The animation is like this, and you still want the copyright of my book of life and death. You don't even want to find a voice actor. It's just a dream. Susiener said, and Chen Shui nodded in agreement. Although the picture was very embarrassing, she accompanied Susiener to finish watching it. As a result, due to the dubbing problem, she lost her sense of shame, and the two of them were attracted by the sound of the corpse howling. As a result, the more Chen Shui watched this Lifen, the more funny she felt, almost laughing out loud, and Susiener became more and more angry. This is completely different from the dubbing in the TV series. Why is the dubbing in the TV series so normal, while the Lifen is as if it is a third-rate voice? No, it's as if someone was just pulled to yell a few words to get by. If the dubbing of Book of Life and Death is also like this, it will definitely ruin this animation. Hearing this, Zhao Jing said helplessly, Miobi, you may not know that generally speaking, Only the voice actors of orthodox animations can dub normally. As for the voice actors of live-in animation, many people are unwilling to do it because they think it is dirty to dub for live-in, and the sales of live-in are not satisfactory, so the voice actors are more casual in dubbing. In fact, the Suxian series is a series project that Tencent Animation attaches great importance to, and they are also very cautious in choosing voice actors. However, there are very few voice actors in the live-in industry. They want to find an orthodox voice actor to dub, but when others hear that they are dubbing for live-in, they shake their heads and refuse, no matter how much money you offer. Therefore, even Tencent Animation can do nothing about the choice of voice actors for live-in. If others don't want to, can you force them? Of course, the most important point is that the development of ACK in China is backward, which leads to the downturn in the industry itself. There are few people willing to invest in it. Those voice actors who graduated from colleges and universities look down on animation. It is difficult to hire them to dub for anime, let alone live-in. Dirty, Susiener said in disbelief. Do they think dubbing for live-in is dirty? What era is this? How can there be such thoughts? I want to meet those voice actors. The live-in of Suxian series is 2 episodes combined into 1 episode, so there are 3 main voice actors, Susien, Chen Shui, and Lin Xiaojing. Of course, if the female voice actor has a solid foundation, she can even play 2 roles, or even 3 roles. Okay, Zhao Jing would not refuse. After all, Susiener was the author. Then, Zhao Jing personally took the 2 to the recording studio. As soon as they entered the recording studio, Susiener nodded. Tencent Animation's professional equipment was obviously not inferior, so it was a voice actor problem. As soon as the 3 came in, they attracted attention. Editor-in-Chief Zhao. This is Xiao Chen. The sound engineer Zhao Jing heard the words and nodded gently, and then introduced Susiener one by one. The tuner, sound engineer, etc., introduced to Susiener one by one. Everyone in the recording studio looked at Susiener curiously, with love on their faces. After all, people's resistance to cuteness is very weak. Then Zhao Jing told a female manager about his intention to come, and then the female manager asked a few people to wait. After a few minutes, several voice actors who dubbed the Susien series were found. Are you the voice actor who dubbed Chen Shui? Susiener asked the male and female voice actors. Chen Shui next to her looked awkward, and the female voice actor nodded shyly. It's me. Redub it? Then, in Lin Xian's puzzled eyes, Susiener continued, I'm not satisfied with the dubbing of Susien series, so I'll dub it again. This time I'll be by your side to guide you. When Zhao Jing heard it, he couldn't help but asked in surprise, Mr. Miyobi, can you also dub? A little bit. Mr. Miyobi. You are Miyobi. Oh my god, Mr. Miyobi. When Zhao Jing opened his mouth, the people around him were surprised and looked at Susiener with shining eyes. Just now they just thought Susiener was very cute, but now they instantly rose to the point of admiration. But Susiener didn't have time to deal with these admirers. The knot in her heart had not been resolved. Then Zhao Jing asked everyone to get ready, and Lin Xian, who dubbed Chen Shui and Lin Xiaojing in the Susien series, stood by with a nervous look on her face. Susiener looked at it and suddenly realized something, and then said something to Zhao Jing. A few minutes later, all the men disappeared, including Zhao Jing, and all the people left were women. Then I looked at it and found that Lin Xian's face was indeed less nervous. Let's start. Susiener and Chen Shui sat aside and watched attentively. Especially Chen Shui, who looked curious and interested. It was obviously the first time she saw a voice actor dubbing an animation, and it was a live-in. With Susiener's order, the recording studio entered the working state, and when the animation started playing, Lin Xian began to dub. Then just a few minutes later, Susiener couldn't bear it anymore and shouted to stop. Seeing Lin Xian looking at him doubtfully, Susiener stepped forward and pointed at the song that was still playing. Do you think this is what women's voices sound like when men and women are mating? Susiener's frankness made Lin Xian blush with embarrassment and whispered, I don't have a boyfriend, so I don't understand this. You don't need to have a boyfriend. Susiener was helpless. Although Lifen is also an animation, it has similarities and differences with regular animations. Voice actors are crucial to Lifen. The voices and voices in Lifen are the tone and demeanor are the main theme. Do you think the audience will be comfortable with the emotionless voice you just made? Be bolder, scream more, and put yourself into the heroine's place, and feel the pleasure of the heroine being pressed and rubbed. Put your whole heart into it, exaggerate appropriately and you will succeed. Don't think that dubbing for Lifen is dirty. It's a profession, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Some divas are naked in movies and they're not embarrassed. Why would just dubbing make you ashamed? Okay, Lin Xian took a deep breath and nodded. However, a few minutes later, Susiener raised her forehead. Obviously, it was impossible to convince a shy female voice actor with just a few words. Thinking of Susiener, she continued to shout stop, and then said expressionlessly, I'll show you. In order to be able to see normal Lifen on the internet in the future, Susiener risked her life. Well, after watching Gabriel, the update is an hour late. Please vote for recommendation. VO transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 89. In fact, Lin Xian had many shortcomings just now, such as the lip shape problem. Although it seemed to be aligned, if you really listen carefully, there would be a little delay. Then there is the voice problem. Chen Shui in the Suxian series has a confused personality, but Lin Xian did not show it at all just now. In the voice actor industry, some voice actors do not even need animation pictures. They can express the personality of animation characters with voices just by imagination. This is an instinctive skill that senior voice actors have formed. And Lin Xian obviously did not reach this level, but Susiener could not force it. After all, she just learned a little bit and knew that most well-known voice actors dubbed movies and TV series, and they did not care about animation at all, let alone Lifen. So most of the voice actors who dubbed animation and Lifen were freshmen in colleges and universities. These can be called elites, and more are from wild backgrounds. Lin Xian is a student of Shanghai Film and Television Academy. She is a freshman this year. Due to her poor family, she was spotted by Tencent Animation when she was looking for a job. When she learned that she was to dub for a Lifen, she refused at first and almost left. In the end, she reluctantly stayed because of the high salary. This shows how miserable the voice actors in the Lifen industry are. So Susiener knew that she really couldn't ask for too much. This is why she didn't let Zhao Jing change the voice actor. Lin Xian is already an excellent voice actor. Although she can't let go of Lifen in various ways, it is estimated that if she dubs for an orthodox animation, she will return to normal. Give me the script, let me see. Lin Xian handed the script to Susiener, and then stayed by her side, looking at Susiener with curiosity and admiration. Just now, she knew that the other party was a wonderful writer. As a loyal fan of Book of Life and Death, Lin Xian was naturally excited. As a result, the other party actually wanted to show her how to be a Lifen voice actor, which surprised her. After Susiener took the script, she read it carefully and found that the lines were not much different from the comics, but because it was an animation, some lines were added to supplement it. Let's start. The lines of the comic were very simple, so Susiener remembered them quickly. But when the animation started playing, Susiener suddenly became nervous and stopped immediately. Then, looking at the puzzled eyes of the crowd, she said embarrassedly, "Can you all go out?" Ah! Although the entire recording studio was full of girls, Susiener still felt very ashamed. Before the demonstration, she thought it was very simple, but when it really started, she suddenly became nervous. You teach her. Pointing at Chen Shui, Susiener said, let her do it, and you go out first. Okay, the female administrator was obviously a little amused, but she did not refuse Susiener. Obviously, the other party was shy. It took another 10 minutes. When the staff taught Chen Shui how to use some internal machines in a foolproof way, they all went out. In an instant, there were only 3 people in the entire recording studio. You guy, you are preaching to others, but now you are so nervous, Chen Shui said unhappily, and was speechless to Susiener. Rolling her eyes, Susiener was too lazy to complain. What she wanted to teach was the tone and demeanor, as well as the natural feeling of panting and shouting when the male and female protagonists fought. As for nervousness, Susiener believed that as long as Lin Xian dubbed it a few more times and did a few more NGS, she would get used to it. I will dub the heroine Chen Shui, and you will dub the protagonist Susien. Seeing Lin Xian standing aside in a daze, Susiener said, we are playing against each other, so it's a good opportunity for you to feel it. Okay, Lin Xian took a deep breath nervously, and then looked at the script again. Let's start. When the animation started playing, Susiener didn't feel like she was being watched just now, and she felt much better overall. The first episode of the Susien series is 30 minutes long and is divided into 2 stories. One is the female takeaway worker Chen Shui, and the other is the girl next door Lin Xiaojing. There is a small story every 15 minutes, so the rhythm of the Lifen is very fast, and it basically restores the comics. At the beginning, the protagonist Susien complained about why the takeaway hadn't arrived yet. As a result, just after she finished complaining, the doorbell rang and the heroine Chen Shui appeared. She was wearing revealing clothes, her skirt was very short, and she was young and beautiful, which surprised the hero Susien. But then she complained. After that, the heroine Chen Shui was so fragile that she cried when she was complained. When the hero was in a hurry, she said that she would apologize. When the heroine Chen Shui entered the house, Lin Xian began to get nervous. She knew that the highlight was coming. The dubbing of some of the previous dialogues between the male and female protagonists was very simple, after all, it was a normal plot. When the heroine Chen Shui entered the room of the hero Susien, the heroine Chen Shui threw the hero Susien on the sofa without saying a word and stripped the hero Susien's combat uniform. What are you doing? Apologize. No. Don't worry, I have a way. What happened today is my fault, so let me help you and make up for today's mistake. Don't. How are you? Are you feeling better? I feel much better, but you look so pale. Are you okay? Don't worry. From now on, I will serve you as my master. Can I be your personal maid? I couldn't ask for more. That's what I want. As she dubbed, as the sex scenes of the battles progressed, Lin Xian looked at Susiener in shock, and suddenly she felt ashamed. However, when the male and female protagonists started fighting, Lin Xian was so embarrassed when she looked at the animation screen that she even trembled when she spoke, but Susiener's face was normal, and there was no change at all. At this moment, she suddenly realized that perhaps this was professionalism. As Susiener said just now, this is just a profession, there is no high or low, and if the Lifen is really well received, then it means that it has been recognized by the public, which means that the voice actor's dubbing is recognized, which is a kind of recognition, and she should be happy. Thinking of this, Lin Xian secretly made up her mind. Okay, let's stop here. Susiener saw that the first story had ended, so she stopped directly, and then looked at Lin Xian and said, how about it? I want to try again, Lin Xian said with a firm look. Seeing this, Susiener blinked her eyes. It seems that the other party has figured it out, but she also has to give the other party a boost. Thinking of this, Susiener tempted, if this Lifen dubbing is good, there is a role in Book of Life and Death that can barely be called the heroine. I will give it to you to dub. Really? Lin Xian's eyes suddenly lit up. Ahem, everyone seems to be looking forward to this chapter. Do you want to see the protagonist? It's a pity that it can't be written like this. Otherwise it won't pass the review on Cheateon.com, so in order to avoid being censored, I added a thick mosaic. You can use your imagination. Also, where are the recommended votes? Ovo. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 90. Book of Life and Death is now popular all over the country. Anyone who is not a fool knows that when the plot of Book of Life and Death develops to a certain point, this comic will become as popular as a blowout. As a student at the Shanghai Film and Television Academy in Shanghai, Lin Xian's dream is to become a voice actor because she is not very pretty, hoping to one day dub for movies or TV series. Of course, she is only a freshman now, and it is too far away to think about these things, so she turned her attention to the act circle and wanted to hone herself in animation dubbing. As a result, I didn't expect that when I joined Tencent Animation, I would be paired with Lifen. In the end, I gritted my teeth and agreed to give it a try because of the salary. Unexpectedly, she took a turn for the worse. Today she met teacher Miobi, who actually encouraged her. Don't worry, I will work hard at this moment. Lin Xian gritted her teeth and said seriously, Book of Life and Death is too popular, and as an animation, in addition to the characters in it, voice actors are an extremely important part. As long as she can match it well, then he can definitely use the fame of Book of Life and Death to make himself appear in the public's ears. As a student at the Shanghai Film and Television Academy, she got some news from the Book of Life and Death scandal in the past 2 days. Those well-known voice actors have all set their sights on Book of Life and Death. Unlike Lifen, although orthodox animation is not favored by the older generation of voice actors, new voice actors still hope to use Book of Life and Death. The reputation is further improved. Lin Xian then continued to dub under Susiener's expectant gaze. There were still bumps and bruises, and she still couldn't let go, but Susiener could clearly feel that the other party was starting to make progress. The dubbing started to have emotions and personalities, and the sounds started to sound natural. Obviously, it was Lin Xian who couldn't let go before, but now she is willing to go all out. With the other party's professionalism, as long as she cultivates it well, it is completely feasible. Looking at Lin Xian, Susiener felt that she could train her to become a well-known voice actor, and in the future she would specialize in dubbing for TV dramas. It would not be a problem to become a model worker in the industry like Zionke. Of course, the most important thing is that the other party's voice is very in line with her aesthetics. Unlike Coriander, it has a sweet and delicate voice. If she really wants to say it, the other party can become the Chinese version of Kojima Yuri. With a Tsundere Lolita. Of course, whether it can succeed or not depends on whether the other party works hard or not. It was not until 5 o'clock in the afternoon that Susiener yawned. After listening to the screams for nearly an hour, she felt a little numb. Mainly because she felt that she couldn't listen to it anymore, and after listening to it again, she didn't feel anything after watching it. So she said goodbye to Lin Xian, saying that she had something to do and had to leave first. Of course, before leaving, she was asked to take a photo, sign an autograph and provide her contact information, and Lin Xian promised not to expose Susiener's identity. "How's it going?" When Susiener came to the editor-in-chief's office, Zhao Jing couldn't help but ask with a smile. To be honest, when Zhao Jing learned that the other party was going to demonstrate the dubbing of Lin Xian for Lin Xian, Zhao Jing was very shocked and wanted to stop it, because now as a master, there was no need to do so. Lifen's dubbing would not be discriminated against in the act circle, But outside this circle, people would be unhappy, so he felt that there was no need for Susianer to damage his reputation. Anyway, it's better than the previous dubbing. Susianer rolled her eyes. When she thought about the voice she just watched, she shuddered. If she watched it in the middle of the night, others would think it was a horror movie. Zhao Jing nodded and did not dwell on this matter. Now that the dubbing issue has been solved, he was looking forward to it, but he was more concerned about the Book of Life and Death. Thinking of the requirements of the administration, he said, "If it's possible, Teacher Miyobi, Book of Life and Death should be completed within 2 months." Upon hearing this, Susianer had a black question mark on her face. Zhao Jing explained, "It's like this. When the people in the administration learned that you had complete control over the subsequent plot, they felt that with the current reputation of Book of Life and Death, there was no need to delay, and you found the help of Bilibili and MiHoYo artists has already been known to everyone, so according to the wishes of Tencent Animation and the Management Bureau, it will be completed as soon as possible, and we can expand the number of people in the circle centered on Book of Life and Death. Now Book of Life and Death is famous enough, and in 2 months, the storm of the school violence was probably over by then. Then Book of Life and Death will continue to appear 2 months later, with Tencent Animation and Management. According to the official propaganda of the Bureau, it is not a dream for Book of Life and Death to become a phenomenon. I still want to study." When Susianer said these words, Chen Shui next to her glanced sideways at him. Zhao Jing wondered if she didn't know what kind of person Susianer was. "I rack my brains to skip classes every day, and will not go to school whenever I have the chance." "Ahem." Zhao Jing said helplessly, "I also know that the senior year of high school is a difficult career. Just ask Teacher Miyobi to take some time out every day to draw a draft and let your comic assistants help solve it." If it were Zhao Jing before, he would definitely not say this. Although in his opinion, in order to get into a good university, one should just find a stable job. Now Susianer earns more money than most people. Many. With fame and fortune, it doesn't matter what university he goes to, but his parents probably value university very much, so Zhao Jing didn't mention it. But just now he learned that Susianer was a star of Uexi High School, and she always ranked first in her grade. In fact, this kind of student had no need to study at all. The college entrance examination was not a problem for her at all. This is the reason why Zhao Jing mentioned it. "Okay, but you have to agree to one request of mine." Susianer agreed, mainly because she suddenly remembered that the copyright did not belong to Tencent Animation, but the other party was busy giving her advice and promoting Book of Life and Death. It was simply like a saint. When did Tencent's company become so good? So she felt very sorry. "What request?" Seeing that the other party agreed, Zhao Jing breathed a sigh of relief and asked curiously, "Is it to borrow money again?" "That, I opened a plug-in when I was playing Poisonous Milk Powder yesterday and was banned, but now I have no money, I don't spend much money, and I am not a member of Tencent's Xinyu, so can you help me talk to your game department and ask them to unblock me? Of course, if possible, it would be better to secretly help me increase the probability of epic explosions in the abyss." Huh? Zhao Jing was confused. "Sorry, Editor-in-Chief Zhao, this guy sometimes has a bad brain, just ignore him, we have something to do and we're leaving first." Chen Shui slapped her forehead when she heard it, showing a look of weakness, and then she said something to Zhao Jing directly, regardless of Susianer's struggle and her remarks about firing her, and dragged him away directly. "I really can't afford to lose this person. Other people negotiate with interests first, but this guy is so good, he focuses on the game, and he needs others to find someone to unblock him when he opens a plug-in. Not to mention the different departments, if this matter is exposed, don't laugh at others." Thinking of this, Chen Shui felt that her assistant life in less than a month was very bumpy. A new day, please vote for recommendation. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 92. Chapter 92 Comic Princess Susienner, 14. Mom sells batches, do you hear me? Mom sells batches. I heard you, and girls, don't say bad words. I'm going to fire you. Okay, this is the first time you've fired me, I can't even remember it. I could have unblocked it, but if you mess with it, I have to become a member. Are you stupid? Can't you just play another account? And the other person is from Tencent Animation, not Tencent's game department. Ignorance. If the other party can achieve the position of editor-in-chief, it must be very relevant. Unblocking is a trivial matter, just a matter of words. And I only use QQ large account to play Tencent games. Chen Shui held her forehead and said, if the other party really delays the relationship with you, then the favor owed to you by others will be repaid. If you pay it back, pay it back. Is there anything more important in this world than entertainment? Susienner clenched her fist. After all, she still had more than 10,000 Abyss tickets in her game account. If she didn't use them all, feeling like a loss of 100 million, I will be a Xinyu member as soon as my salary is paid next month, I want to be a father. By the way, you've played several games this month, can't you just concentrate on playing one? I don't want to either. Hearing this, Susienner grimaced for the first time, there is a girl who keeps pestering me and wants to be my wife. She will follow me wherever I play, and she always succeeds. It was so scary to find me the first time. You deserve to be called a monster. At the entrance of Yunshan Mansion, Qian Tao, the young man who was with Sister Li before, heard the two noisy sounds and looked over. He couldn't help but be surprised by this. When Susienner and Chen Shui entered the community, Qian Tao realized what he was doing. He took out his phone and called Sister Li, that Susienner is back. It's okay, I'm already at their house. Sister Li smiled proudly. When she first entered the community, she wandered around for half an hour. When she met someone, she asked about Susienner. She couldn't figure it out at first, but in the end she thought Susienner's characteristics. He directly asked if there was a cute little sister here. Sure enough, others saw that it was the reporter who directly gave her directions. It was obvious that Susienner was quite famous in the community. As a result, when she knocked on the door and saw Lin Jingshu and Su Ying in the room, she became even more excited when she realized that Susienner was still a pen artist. Because the water pen is still a wonderful pen. Miyobi is the author of the recently circulated Book of Life and Death. Sister Li knows that this is her opportunity. Teacher Miyobi, who had always been mysterious before, disappeared after only a glimpse in the live broadcast. Fans are concerned about this. Susienner was very curious about what she looked like. As long as she can get this exclusive news, or as long as she can make Susienner's information known to the public, her status in the reporter circle will skyrocket. Nowadays, many reporters have racked their brains and searched for information, but they can't get any information about Susienner. No one has disclosed whether it is Bilibili or Tencent Animation. People at Tencent Animation didn't know, and Station B was stipulated by Chen Rui not to be exposed. In addition, Susienner was still a shareholder of Station B, so no one would say anything. As for the group of artists, they respect Susienner very much now. Maybe now that Susienner plans to set up a comic studio, and then announces the recruitment in the QQ group, everyone will probably come. So at this moment, Sister Li was sitting on the sofa very reservedly. Before, she just thought that Susienner was just Susienner. She wanted to interview her because of that sentence. But now she didn't expect to see Su Ying at Susienner's house. Then thinking of what the other party said, she figured out Susienner's identity in an instant. This was the reason why she was nervous, because Susienner, who had so many identities, was a big shot in her eyes, and was not something that a small reporter like her could interview. When Susienner and Chen Shui arrived home, They saw Sister Lee sitting on the sofa. Chen Shui glanced at the other party in confusion, but did not think of the worst, thinking that the other party was someone Susiener or Lin Jingshu knew. You reporters are too powerful. Susiener was shocked when she saw Sister Lee, and couldn't help but said in surprise, "How long has it been since then, and you already know where I live?" Teacher Miobi. At this time, Sister Lee stood up and shouted excitedly when she saw Susiener coming in. During this period, she searched for the pen name Miobi on her mobile phone, and also infiltrated the Comic House forum to read it for more than 10 minutes. She found that Book of Life and Death and Miobi were being discussed everywhere in the forum. Moreover, Susiener now also has a title in the comics industry, that is, Comic Princess. This title, which Susiener will definitely be scorned and even give her goosebumps if she knows it, was formed in the past 2 days. People in the comics industry originally felt that the emergence of Miobi completely saved the comics industry. Now that Book of Life and Death is such a popular phenomenon, it is estimated that there is no need to compete for the rookie championship. Someone has written about Susiener's legendary experience in the comics industry in the past month. Not only is it admirable, but it is also a privilege to witness the rise of the comics industry in the same era as Miaoan. Everyone originally gave Miobi the title of Queen of Comics, but Susiener fans were not happy. Miobi is so cute and she is still a girl, so why should she be called a queen? Hence the title of Comic Princess, which coincides with the Princess Knights. Sister Lee has also read the Book of Life and Death. After all, as a reporter, this is the hottest event at the moment, so she naturally has to pay attention to it. But when she saw the Book of Life and Death, she who had not paid attention to comics in the past, was instantly immersed in it and became Susiener of fans. Now when she saw Susiener, Sister Lee was naturally excited. "Teacher Miobi, I want to interview you, is that okay?" When Chen Shui heard this, she realized that the other person was a reporter, and couldn't help but look at the other person warily. After all, due to the internet, many people have a bad impression of reporters, and they feel that these reporters are just paparazzi who specialize in poaching people's privacy. Susiener thought of something, and her eyes suddenly lit up. "Okay." At this time, Lin Jingshu came out of the kitchen with a plate. When she saw Chen Shui and Susiener, she couldn't help but smile and said, "You are back. The food just happened to be ready. Get ready to eat." Su Ying, who had just come out of the toilet, came to the living room. When she saw Susiener, her eyes lit up like light bulbs, and she shouted excitedly, "Teacher water pen." With that said, before Susiener could react, she ran over and hugged her and rubbed her hard. Susiener was almost suffocated by the two huge masses of inherited sacred objects. Let me go. I'm going to die." "No. I'm sorry, Mr. Shuabai, I'm too excited." Su Ying looked at Susiener's cute face, her eyes lit up. In addition, the other party was not tall, and she was only about 1.55 meters by visual inspection. Such a height between a Lolita and a girl, it makes people want to ravage her. "Who are you?" Susiener gritted her teeth and said, "Why are there two strangers at home after not being at home all afternoon?" Jingshu is too unaware of safety. It seems that she will have to stay at home and look after the house from now on. Puff. Today I routinely checked whether there were any typos in the previous chapters, and found that the dubbing passage in chapter 88 that I had thickly mosaicked was deleted by Kidian in 2 paragraphs 233,333, so if new readers are curious about not seeing it, you can go to DB and take a look yourself. It doesn't matter if you don't look at it. It won't affect your reading experience. Please vote for recommendations. I also want the torn up tickets, and leave the ashes of the burned tickets for me.